Hello. I love my country, and I don't like seeing it burning. Um, for some time, like I've been saying, um, we need to get a grip with this illegal immigration stuff. Otherwise, the British people only hold a stiff upper lip for so long. I hate being fucking right sometimes. The left kept calling people who were concerned about this far right. And I was saying, you need to stop this bloody shit about calling everybody far right who disagrees with you, because they might show up. I hate being proved right sometimes, and this is the time I do. Now we have the far right who have actually shown up, and they have been organising riots and stuff across the country. And what really is most annoying is they're blaming Tommy Robinson, saying that he's orchestrating it and encouraging people to riot. I think we need to hear during these riots what Tommy Robinson has actually been saying.
Now, I'll be saying to anyone, I know there's a protest tonight in London. Lads, you've got to remain calm. You can't have scenes. I understand that level of anger, because I've been listening and looking and thinking and picturing, trying to think of what they're going through. And they're being gaslit the entire time. Now, you've seen the attempt already by the media. They blamed last night, not on an angry community, but on the English Defence League, which ended 10 years ago as an organisation. Look at our events in London, totally peaceful, totally calm, didn't matter. We were under attack by the media and politicians, by all of them. As far-right, racist, hooligans, all these things. But, again, I'll just reiterate, a total appeal for calm. But again, so lads, if there are any future demonstrations up there, try to remain calm, try and hold, and again, people watching these scenes, imagine how quickly, they're all there, they're all upset, they're all angry, they're devastated, their hearts are broken, and then they find out another bloke's turned up with a balaclava and knife in their town. Another man has come into their town with a balaclava and knife. Now that word would have spread quickly around that community. The anger's boiled over. But just an appeal for calm, man. Anyone going to London tonight? There's protests outside, down the street, outside Parliament for Prime Minister's questions, I believe. Try and bring the numbers, bring the noise, but don't bring any violence, man.
Well,
peace, love, our country is in the gutter.
Anything he's involved with, it's not happening.
Through rocks and coppers. Galvanise the country. That's what we need to do. Unite people. My message to people going out is be careful. I understand the frustration. I fully understand it. I understand the anger. Yeah. I'm frustrated, I'm angry. But to go out and burn a police building in a block of buildings with multiple occupancies is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Yeah? Insane, really. And yeah, the level of violence, it won't work. Okay? It'll just give them the excuse not to listen to the wider public's general concerns and fears on all these issues. So up and down the country, if you're going out today, remain safe, stay safe. If you're protesting, it's your God-given right to do that. Yeah? Anyway, stay safe. Stop the violence, man. And to the men committing the violence, lads, Those individual police officers who are coming out doing a difficult enough job have got families at home. They're ordinary people, okay? We had 100,000 people on the streets of London in a peaceful resistance. That 100,000 will become 250,000. 250 will become 500,000. A peaceful revolution is brewing in Great Britain. A peaceful revolution. And to the lads taken to the streets, in the towns and cities today, these young boys need leadership. Take their balaclavas off. Take their masks off. They're going to get years in prison. Okay? It's not helping the cause. You see the rapes. You see all these migrant hotels. They're not slowing them down. They're speeding them up. They're flooding our country. Yeah? We either win this battle, where we don't become minorities and don't see every town and city in this country taken over by hostile jihadists, rapists, criminals. Yeah? That's one outcome, or we win. Through peaceful resistance, we cause a revolution in this country, and the public are ready for it. Everyone's ready for it. Yeah, the time is now. The time, and lads, up and down the country, in the towns and cities, these young boys are looking for leadership. Okay, we had peaceful demonstrations in London because we had leadership. We had committed men, not just me. We had committed men across that movement, willing to stop people who are stepping out of line. We're on the verge of something massive, where we've won the hearts and minds of the public. Don't undo that, yeah? So, lads, in every city across this country, control your boys, man.
The other person they're blaming is Nigel Farage, but not too much. It tends to be on social media Nigel Farage is getting the blame, you see. The media will have a go at Tommy Robinson, but they won't have a go at Nigel Farage, you see, because, well, Nigel Farage is actually part of the establishment. That's why he's regularly been on the panel on Question Time, and Tommy Robinson hasn't. And what they really detest about Tommy Robinson is the fact that he is working class. It sounds a bit rough round the edges. No middle class noughts. We working class don't do noughts, and I'm going to say that. And I've got into trouble over being straight talking while being in politics over the years, but I'm working class, I don't do noughts. Neither does Tommy Robinson, and that is why people are... Let's not beat about the bush when our country is being destroyed, because we love our country. Anyway, and Nigel Farage has decided to make a statement. He's, you can see the video, you could hear Tommy Robinson from on Twitter, and Nigel's like, he's in a nice suit and he's sitting there being all statesman-like because he wants to be the next Prime Minister. Shall we listen to this?
It's been a pretty appalling couple of days. Violence on the streets of this country that we haven't seen for a very long time. Yes, we had the riots in 2011, which were exercises in mass looting, but this is very, very different. Let's be clear. Thugs setting fire to hotels, migrant hotels, with people in.
Now, let's get this straight. Yes, that was wrong. But basically, in a town that had been rocked by Muslim grooming gangs, do you think it's a good idea to actually stick a load of people from Muslim countries with no identification? We have not a clue who the fuck they are, being put in a hotel somewhere like that. Whose idea was that? Just thought I'd mention that, but let's hear what Nigel has to say.
In them is just wrong at every level. I understand the frustrations, I understand the anger that is felt by huge numbers of people, but I do not support street protest, violence or thuggery in any way. And that's why for 30 years I've fought elections, because I believe that democracy is the peaceful way to solve problems. And as for Tommy Robinsons and those that genuinely do stir up hatred, well, I've never had anything to do with them. In fact, I was the one person above all.
Fuck off, Nigel. Fuck off, Nigel. Right. As leader of UKIP were delivering leaflets in my neighbourhood where I was living at the time with a large foreign population, whipping up racial hatred with their bloody leaflets, talking about huge amounts of blah, 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 coming in and da-da-da-da-da, right, to whip up racial hatred. I remember it well. I came out of my house and shouted at the person delivering the leaflets, "What the fuck do you think you're doing, slagging off my neighbours?" Right, so don't call me fucking far right, anybody, okay? That's what I did, because it annoyed me. And the leaflet was targeting the people who had come who were finding it the hardest to integrate. Well, living there, we had a lovely community, multinational. We were all integrated into the local community. People were struggling to integrate who had just moved in, and we had these leaflets come through our door, bloody saying that they were this, that, and the other. Right? They targeted the vulnerable who had moved to this country. And basically, who did that? Who was the leader of that party? Nigel Farage. Has Tommy Robinson been involved in any of that? No, he hasn't. So don't bloody give us this shit. Nigel Farage has spent an entire career pissing people off about immigrants and the like. I mean, look at him when he was in Brussels. I mean, he was just he calls a former prime minister of a country a damp rag. What kind? He may talk nice. He may not be as. He may be more polished, but we had to negotiate with people he called damp rags and whose countries he'd slagged off in the European Parliament afterwards, and it made it a lot bloody harder for us to bloody leave with a good deal because of him. And so basically he's not on the side of this country, and he spent a whole bloody time whipping up about immigrants and what the trouble they were going to cause, causing bloody it's absolutely pissing people off. Fortunately, it didn't cause any racial tensions, but it could. And the thing is, they all understood that UKIP was a racist party, which is why in Ipswich they voted UKIP. Labour voters had two choices. They voted for the woman who was white and UKIP because they wouldn't vote for an Asian. The racists did that because they understood that UKIP was a racist party under Nigel Farage. And that there's no way around that. Would people actually decide to go to an event organised by Tommy Robinson because he's racist? No, they bloody wouldn't. People who go have listened to what he has to say, they agree with him, and they love their country. And so rallies in London he holds, they are people from all British patriots, right? Different colours, different creeds, different religions who love this country. And that includes Muslims as well. Moderate Muslims show up at his rallies, right? They have his support because basically the Islamists who are causing the trouble are making it virtually impossible for people who just want to get on with their lives and work hard and make a good life in this country as their parents and grandparents did. They're unable to bloody do this because of these bloody Islamists, and they can't. A lot of them can't say anything in public, otherwise their house gets firebombed, and that's reality. And Tommy Robinson is actually helping them. What has Nigel ever done? What has anybody else ever done for these people who are Muslims? Nobody. Like, yeah, he's whipping it up, is he? No. He wants to unite. He wants the country to be united, not divided. But Nigel spent years whipping up these immigrants are doing this and these immigrants are doing that in his bloody UKIP leads. I mean, get bloody real, Nigel. You're not innocent. You may wear a nice suit and you may have a bit of nonce, But sorry, I see through you. And then, just to top this off, right, the Reform UK manifesto, the immigration tax. So businesses were taxed for employing people that weren't born in this country. Which is, I mean, that's just one step off painting stars of David on business premises. Who called that out? Well, apart from me, I can't think of anybody. Well, why didn't the mainstream media call it out? Well, you see, Nigel is part of the establishment, so it really isn't that bad. If Tommy Robinson had come out with something like that, being not part of the establishment and also dirty, filthy working class, they would have been all over it, smashing him to pieces. Because these people, the elite, hate the working class. And Nigel Farage is not one of us. Now Nigel Farage continues sitting there with his suit. All statesmen like to show that he could be the Prime Minister of this country. Oh, what will be fucking left of it?
By the Anna Soubries of this world, the Andy McDonalds from Labour of this world, the accusation that somehow I'm orchestrating these riots. Nothing, but nothing could be further from the truth. We've even got national broadcasters, like James O'Brien, calling them the Farage riots. This is unfair, untrue, and actually, it's directly inciting violence against me. Indeed, over the weekend, I've had to have a massive uplift in personal security.
Yep, all the rhetoric's coming from the mainstream media. He's right there. Even though he's a fascist git.
And that's been advised by government agencies. So all this peace and love that we hear from those on the left simply isn't true. The Prime Minister has
lots of noughts. Let's put it in simple English. It's bollocks.
Read this completely and utterly. Just to call out the actions of the far right is to misunderstand two things. Firstly, let's be clear, there were masked Muslim extremist mobs,
correct,
some with weapons, going around the streets of Midlands and northern cities, threatening journalists literally running away. Indeed, in some cases, people even having their tyres on their cars slashed. So, of course, as with every major conflict in life, there is fault, serious fault on both sides. But behind the extremes of both, what Starmer doesn't understand, and when he says, I'm going to stop the far right, what he doesn't understand is the general feeling of dissatisfaction. Faction that has been out there in this country growing for years. I talked in the general election about societal breakdown. What I meant by that were communities being split apart, people not even recognizing the centres of some of our towns and cities as even being vaguely English anymore. And when it comes to the issue of two-tier policing, something which Keir Starmer denies, I promise you this perception began back at the time of Black Lives Matter. Remember Churchill's statue being defaced?
Wrong again, Nigel. Two-tier policing has been building up. It became bloody obvious when they were taking the knee to Black Lives Matter people and showing up in riot gear for English patriots in London during lockdown. Who was the first person? It was actually a bit before this. Who brought up two-tier policing? Guess who it was? It was Tommy Robinson, who has always been against violence and basically I'm more right-wing than Tommy Robinson. but I'm definitely not as right-wing as Nigel Farage, because some of the stuff he come out with, I think he is a race-baiting fascist. Basically, someone's replied, actually, to his Twitter. Tommy Robinson is the reason the world is talking about two-tier, Starmer and failed immigration. He asked people to vote for you, you ungrateful tosser. Tommy has made clear that a peaceful resistance is the way forward. You really need to apologise to Tommy. But he won't, because, well, Nigel's part of the establishment and Tommy Robinson is just a working class piece of shit compared to in his mindset. Basically, he is part of the establishment. He is part of the elite. He's not bloody fooling me. And I hope that by listening to this video, he doesn't fool anybody else. And also, I hope it is understood Tommy Robinson is not a racist, he's not a fascist, he's not far right. Okay? One of the things that was has been noticeable in my research to find out who the far right people are, how the far right are actually involved in these riots and stuff. There's something that come to my attention that you never hear from Tommy Robinson and people around him. Basically, these Nazi bastards are obsessed with race. You hear all these kind of NPK. This is, and it's just absolutely the level of hate is quite shocking, and I'm not going to discuss what I mean. It's kind of. It wasn't good for me reading it, and I don't think it's good for anybody else actually hearing it. I mean, on social media. But anyway, there's another bunch of people who are obsessed with race as well, aren't they? I mean, like, the majority of British people tend not to be. I mean, yes, we are concerned about Islamic grooming gangs. Yes, we are concerned about immigrants coming here with no ID or anything. We don't know who the fucking hell they are. And getting asylum and then fucking going and committing massacres. I mean, why the fucking hell shouldn't we be worried about that? Apparently, we're far-right thugs for believing that, according to Keir Starmer. I seem to remember after the UKIP leaflet came through my door, I was a council candidate at the time, when the Conservative Party was still Conservative, and after the elections, I attended a Hope Not Hate meeting, far-right thug that I am. The media, I mean, go back a bit. I'm a cricket fan, okay? I remember when Monty Panesar was picked for England. It was on and on and on. Monty Panesar is a Sikh. Now, yes, we know, and they kept going on about him being a Sikh. Look, basically, he had a beard and a fucking turban. We knew he was a Sikh. What was that all about? And we can expect this as the new Premier League season starts. I mean, it's being substituted for Al Hamadi. This Ipswich side now has 2 Muslims on the pitch, as if anybody gives a shit. And normal working class people go to football matches that, according to Keir Starmer, are all far-right thugs. I can guarantee if somebody came out with something racist and offensive in that ground, they are parts of it. It's a question of, do the stewards get hold of him and get him out before his head gets kicked in? So this is very offensive, calling us all far-right thugs. Basically, will they cut the rhetoric? Will any of them, the media, the government, will they cut the rhetoric and stop this and say we need to discuss this? That is the solution. We're British. Let's have a debate. A national debate can be had once we stop calling each other far right and far left and all that, and just discuss the issue. We can get on with it. The thing is, I can understand why the elite establishment doesn't actually want a national debate about this, because the last time we had a national debate, it was about Brexit, and they lost.